Life is nothing but a cycle of suffering, where our desires enslave us, and happiness is merely the brief absence of pain. What if I told you that the only way to find peace is to embrace the void, to deny the very thing that makes us human, our will? This is the world of Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher of pessimism, a thinker so radical, so brutally honest, that even Nietzsche, who once admired him, had to break away. But is Schopenhauer really just a doomsayer? Or does he offer a path to something deeper, a form of freedom hidden within his bleak philosophy? Let's explore. Arthur Schopenhauer was born in 1788 in Danzig, now Dansk, Poland, into a wealthy but troubled family. His father, a successful merchant, pushed him toward a career in business. But young Arthur had other plans. After his father's mysterious death, possibly a suicide, Schopenhauer abandoned commerce to pursue philosophy, much to his mother's dismay. His mother, Johanna Schopenhauer, was a well-known writer and socialite, but the two had a turbulent relationship. She once told him, "You are insufferable and will end your days alone." She was right. Schopenhauer spent most of his life isolated, preferring the company of books and his beloved poodle, Atma, over people. Unlike other philosophers who climbed the academic ladder, Schopenhauer was a failure in the university system. He despised Hegel, calling him an intellectual fraud, and was so arrogant that he deliberately scheduled his lectures at the same time as Hegel's, thinking students would flock to him. They didn't. But despite his social failures, Schopenhauer wrote one of the most influential books in philosophy, The World as Will and Representation. At first, it was largely ignored. Only later, as existentialism and psychoanalysis emerged, would his ideas be recognized as revolutionary. The heart of Schopenhauer's philosophy is one fundamental force, the will. But this isn't the rational, goal-oriented will that we usually think of, the kind that allows us to make plans, set objectives, or exercise self-control. No, Schopenhauer's will is something far deeper, far more primal. It is an unconscious, blind, and relentless force that governs all of existence, from the smallest organisms to the grandest cosmic movements. Imagine hunger. When you're starving, all thoughts of philosophy, morality, or self-discipline fade into the background. Your entire being becomes consumed by one singular, overwhelming drive, the need to eat. This, according to Schopenhauer, is the essence of the will, an unceasing force that compels all living beings to strive, to desire, to push forward, regardless of whether fulfillment is ever truly possible. And this will isn't just in humans. It's in animals hunting for food, plants stretching towards sunlight, even in the swirling of galaxies. From the microscopic to the cosmic, everything is being driven by this invisible, all-pervasive force that has no real direction, no ultimate purpose, only the endless, restless impulse to exist and to perpetuate itself. But here's the tragedy. The will is never satisfied. You desire something, love, success, knowledge, pleasure, and you spend your life chasing it. When you finally obtain it, you may feel a brief moment of relief, perhaps even happiness, but it doesn't last. Almost immediately, a new desire arises, pulling you into the cycle again. You are always yearning, always grasping, never at peace. The moment one craving is satisfied, another takes its place. Man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills. This, Schopenhauer argued, is the fundamental condition of human life. An endless chain of desires, each one promising fulfillment, yet each one ultimately leading to more striving, more longing, more suffering. True happiness? It's nothing more than a brief pause in the relentless agony of wanting. Even when we experience joy, it's fleeting, temporary, like taking a breath between waves before being pulled back under. Life, Schopenhauer believed, is like an endless treadmill. We run and run, chasing after meaning, satisfaction, and peace. But we never truly arrive. The will keeps us moving, but there is no final destination, only more striving, more wanting, and inevitably more suffering. Society tells us a simple story. If we work hard, find love, achieve success, and chase our dreams, we will finally be happy. It's the promise behind every advertisement, every fairy tale, every self-help book. But Schopenhauer saw through this illusion. He argued that this entire belief system, the idea that fulfillment is just one achievement away, is nothing more than a cruel trick. The truth is much harsher. The moment we get what we want, the satisfaction fades, and new desires immediately take its place. We are trapped in an endless cycle of craving and disappointment, chasing happiness like a mirage in the desert. And when we don't get what we want, we suffer deeply. The pain of failure, rejection, and loss weighs heavily on us. Life, in Schopenhauer's view, is a constant struggle between dissatisfaction and suffering, with only brief moments of relief in between. Life swings like a pendulum backward and forward between pain and boredom. We spend our days torn between restless longing and bitter frustration, never truly at peace. Even those who seem to have everything, a successful career, wealth, love, are not spared from this relentless torment. Why? Because no matter what we achieve, the will always demands more. It is insatiable. And what about love? Surely love is different, right? Surely love can bring us true happiness? Schopenhauer's answer, absolutely not. Love, he argued, is just another illusion, a biological trick played by the will. We believe we are choosing our partners based on personal attraction, emotional connection, or shared values. But in reality, we are merely puppets of an unconscious force far older and more powerful than us. Love is not about individual happiness. It's about reproduction, about ensuring the continuation of the species. We fall in love not because it will make us happy, but because nature needs us to. We are drawn to people not for their personalities, but because, on some deep, instinctual level, they carry genetic traits that the will wants to pass on. And that's the tragic irony. Love, which we cherish as one of the most profound and meaningful aspects of life, is in fact indifferent to our happiness. It is nature using us for its own ends. This is why relationships so often lead to suffering, why the passion of love fades into routine, why jealousy, heartbreak, and betrayal are so common. The will does not care about our emotions. It only cares about perpetuating life. We are not in control. We are merely actors playing out a script written by forces beyond our understanding. So what's the escape? How do we break free from this endless cycle of desire and suffering? We can regard our whole life as a uselessly disturbing episode in the blissful repose of nothingness. Schopenhauer believed there was only one way, to renounce the will itself. But how do we do that? And is it even possible to escape our own nature? Schopenhauer believed there were three ways to find peace in a world ruled by the will, three possible escapes from the relentless cycle of suffering. But none of them were easy. The first is art, a brief escape. For a moment, art allows us to step outside the constant demands of the will. When we lose ourselves in music, literature, or painting, we stop craving, stop wanting. We simply exist. As he put it, the inexpressible depth of all music rests on the fact that it reproduces all the emotions of our innermost being, but entirely without reality and remote from its pain. For Schopenhauer, music was the highest of all the arts because it didn't just imitate reality, but expressed the essence of the will itself. But this escape is only temporary. The song ends, the book closes, and the will returns. The second is compassion, the path to morality. Schopenhauer believed true morality comes from recognizing that everyone suffers just as we do. The moment we see others not as obstacles, but as fellow sufferers, we develop compassion. Compassion is the basis of all morality. By helping others, we acknowledge that their pain is no different from our own. This realization can weaken the selfish grip of the will, but it does not free us entirely. And the last is asceticism, the ultimate renunciation. The most radical path, complete rejection of desires. Schopenhauer admired Buddhist and Hindu traditions, seeing figures like the Buddha as those who had truly freed themselves from suffering. We must regard the world as a place of penance and not as an abode of happiness. But here's the great irony. Schopenhauer himself didn't live like an ascetic. He may have admired renunciation, but he also loved fine dining, music, expensive coats, and the comforts of wealth. He spoke of transcending the will, but his own will was too strong. In the end, even the man who built his entire philosophy around escaping suffering was, like the rest of us, still trapped by it. So what does this mean for us? If even Schopenhauer couldn't escape the will, what hope do we have? Is suffering truly inescapable? Or is there something else, some final secret, that Schopenhauer overlooked? In future videos, we'll explore his philosophy in greater detail. Perhaps the answers lie deeper than even he imagined. At first, Schopenhauer was a forgotten thinker, overshadowed by the academic giants of his time. His ideas were ignored, his lectures empty. But as time passed, his philosophy began to shape some of the greatest minds in history. Nietzsche, for example, was deeply influenced by Schopenhauer in his early years, admiring his brutal honesty about suffering. But later he rebelled against his pessimism, transforming Schopenhauer's bleak view into the idea of the Übermensch, a figure who embraces life's struggles rather than retreating from them. Sigmund Freud, on the other hand, took Schopenhauer's concept of the unconscious will, a force that drives us without our awareness, and developed it into psychoanalysis. Man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills. This idea anticipated Freud's theories about hidden desires and the internal conflicts of the human psyche. Freud's model of the id, ego, and superego echoes Schopenhauer's vision of human nature, where our deepest impulses are beyond our conscious control. Even Albert Einstein was captivated by his work. He kept a copy of The World as Will and Representation by his bedside, and often spoke about how Schopenhauer's insights into reality and perception influenced his thinking. But Schopenhauer's relevance isn't just historical, it's deeply modern. In a world obsessed with success, status, and endless consumption, his philosophy serves as a warning. Happiness isn't found in chasing desires, it's found in stepping away from them. Today, as people seek meaning beyond materialism and struggle with the pressures of modern life, Schopenhauer's ideas feel more urgent than ever. Perhaps, without realizing it, we are all still living in the world he described, a world dominated by restless desire, where suffering is inescapable. And maybe, just maybe, his philosophy holds the key to a way out. So, what do we do with Schopenhauer's philosophy? Do we surrender to despair, accepting that life is just an endless cycle of unfulfilled desires? Or do we take his insights as a challenge, to see the world as it is and find meaning in spite of it? Maybe the real answer isn't about escaping suffering, but understanding it. Maybe life isn't about fulfilling every desire, but learning which ones are worth chasing. In a world that constantly pushes us to want more, Schopenhauer dares us to stop and ask, what truly matters? In the end, Schopenhauer doesn't offer us hope. He offers us honesty. And sometimes that's exactly what we need. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone,